William Carter stood at the large window of the Earth Embassy on Centauri Prime. The three suns cast strange shadows across the alien city. After 30 years as part of the Galactic Council, humans were still adjusting to life among the stars. Carter sighed and straightened his blue uniform. As Earth's ambassador, he carried the weight of 7 billion lives on his shoulders. His communication device beeped. Ambassador High Counselor Zixvan requests your presence in the Grand Chamber immediately. Carter frowned. Unscheduled meetings with the Andromeda Union leader were never good news. Tell them I'm on my way. The Grand Chamber was a massive room with seats for representatives of over 200 alien civilizations. Most were empty now. Only the High Council members sat in their elevated chairs looking down at Carter as he entered. Their faces were hard to read. Some had no faces at all, but he sensed tension in the air. Zixvan rose from the center seat. The tall blue alien's forearms were held in what Carter recognized as a formal posture. Ambassador Carter of Earth, the High Council has reached a decision regarding your species. Carter kept his face neutral. I wasn't aware Earth was being discussed, Counselor. Your awareness was not required, said Vexlar of the Silvari Dominion. The insect-like alien's mandibles clicked with what Carter had learned was amusement. The Council has authority to act when security threats emerge. Security threats? Carter repeated. Earth has followed every agreement to the letter. Zixvan's upper arms made a dismissive gesture. The issue is not what you have done, but what you could do. Your species advances too quickly. In 30 years, your technology has progressed at a rate that took other races centuries. And that's a problem? Carter asked. It is destabilizing, said Morukai, the gas-filled containment suit hiding whatever form the ancient being took. The balance of power must be maintained. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing Earth's fleet formations and colony expansions. Carter felt cold dread in his stomach. The Council requires Earth to surrender 70% of its space fleet, said Zixvan. Your military installations will be open to Council peacekeepers at all times. A permanent oversight committee will ensure compliance. Carter stared in disbelief. This is not oversight, this is occupation. This is security, corrected Vexillar. Your species has grown too powerful, too quickly. The time for correction is now, before you become unmanageable. You have 7 Earth days to begin compliance, said Zixvan. The Council has spoken. The journey back to Earth was the longest 8 hours of Carter's life. As soon as he landed in Washington, he was rushed to the White House. President Eleanor Wright had called an emergency meeting. The Situation Room was packed. Military officers, scientists, and government officials all looked to Carter as he entered. Tell me they're joking, said President Wright. The tall woman's normally calm face showed rare anger. They're dead serious, said Carter. They've been watching us for years, measuring our progress. They're afraid of us. Admiral George Hudson, head of Earth's space fleet, stood up. His weathered face was grim. Madam President, we've suspected this might happen. Several of our intelligence agents have reported unusual Council interest in our military capabilities. Do we have options? Asked Wright. Dr. Patricia Bell, lead scientist for the Defense Department, raised her hand. Actually, we may have an advantage they don't know about. She placed a small device on the table. This arrived yesterday from our Proximan contact. A hologram appeared, showing Council documents and secret communications. The Proximans have been our allies in secret for years, explained Bell. They've provided evidence that certain Council races, especially the Silvari, have been planning to contain Earth for at least 5 years. They fear our adaptability, said Hudson. Humans learn and innovate faster than any species they've encountered. While they debate for decades, we solve problems in years or even months. And their true goal? Asked Wright. Total control, said Carter. They'll disarm us, then slowly restrict our technology development, our colonization efforts, everything that makes us a potential rival. They've done it before to other emerging races. Wright stood up. Everyone fell silent. I will not surrender humanity's future to alien bureaucrats who fear our potential. Ambassador Carter, you will return to Centauri Prime with our answer. 3 days later, Carter stood again in the Grand Chamber. This time, all seats were filled. Word had spread about the Council's ultimatum to Earth. "Ambassador Carter," said Zix Von, "we expected a compliance schedule, not your presence." Carter looked around the chamber. Many species were watching with interest. Some, he knew, had faced similar demands in their past. "High Counselor, I bring Earth's response." Carter activated a device. The hologram showed the Silvari secret meetings, their plans for Earth, and communications between council leaders discussing how to keep humanity contained. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Vexlar's mandibles clicked rapidly in alarm. "Where? Did you get this?" demanded Zix Von. "We have friends you didn't account for," said Carter. "Earth came to the Galactic Council seeking friendship and cooperation. Instead, you plotted against us from the beginning." He straightened to his full height. "Humanity rejects your ultimatum completely. Furthermore, as of this moment, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." The chamber erupted in chaos. Vexlar stood, pointing at Carter. "This is rebellion. The human ships will be seized, their colonies isolated." Carter looked directly at Zix Von. "We expected nothing less, but remember this. You fear us because we adapt quickly. Imagine how quickly we'll adapt when fighting for our survival." He turned and walked out of the chamber, ignoring the shouting. Behind him, his communication device beeped with a message from President Wright. "Operation Firewall is active. All Earth ships are returning home. The real work begins now." As Carter boarded his ship for the return journey, he looked back at the gleaming council towers. For 30 years, humans had tried to be good galactic citizens. Now they would show the galaxy what humanity could really do when pushed too far. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. Humanity was just getting started. 3 months had passed since Earth's dramatic withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The response came swiftly and without mercy. A blockade of council ships now surrounded the entire Sol system. No ships could enter or leave. No messages could be sent to Earth's colonies and other star systems. Earth was cut off from the rest of the galaxy. On the bridge of the experimental vessel Defiance, Captain Lisa Morgan studied the holographic display of the blockade. The ship was hidden in the shadow of Pluto, far from the prying sensors of council vessels. "How many ships are we looking at, Sam?" she asked her first officer. Sam Rivera adjusted the display. "At least 500 council vessels. They're positioned at all jump points. Nothing gets in or out without them knowing." Morgan nodded. Her short red hair framed a face that rarely showed fear, but today concern was visible in her eyes. "And the colonies?" "No contact since the blockade began," said Rivera. "Council propaganda says we're dangerous warmongers. They've frozen human assets across council space and detained human citizens. It's bad out there, Captain. Which is why our mission is so important." Morgan turned to face her crew of 30, the best pilots, engineers, and scientists Earth had to offer. "The Defiance is humanity's first true stealth ship. We can slip through the blockade if Dr. Miller's technology works as promised." "Doctor?" Kelly Miller stood up from her console. "The phase shift drive will work, Captain. We'll be invisible to their sensors for exactly 42 minutes. After that, the core will need 3 days to recharge. Then we have one shot to get through," said Morgan. "Our mission is to reach the Arcturus and Tau Ceti colonies, deliver the quantum communication devices, and coordinate our resistance. Are we clear?" The crew nodded. They all understood the stakes. Meanwhile, on Luna Base, Dr. Nathan Wells and his team worked day and night in the captured Council Technology Lab. The room was filled with alien devices. Some understood, many still mysterious. "I think I've got it," said Wells, looking up from a disassembled communication device. The dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept in days. "The Council's faster-than-light communication system has a fundamental flaw." His assistant, Olivia Diaz, looked up from her workstation. "What kind of flaw?" "It's based on quantum entanglement, but they're using a fixed frequency pattern." Wells's eyes were bright with excitement. "If we can create a device that sends false signals on their frequency, we could disrupt their entire network." "Or better yet," said Diaz, "we could listen to their communications without them knowing. Wells smiled for the first time in weeks. Exactly. They think their technology is so advanced, but they've been using the same systems for thousands of years. They stopped innovating. We haven't. On Mars, the dust storms provided perfect cover for Operation Firewall. Deep underground, General Alan Foster walked through a massive facility where thousands of engineers and workers built new weapons and defenses. "How are the gravity lances coming along?" he asked a group of scientists. Chief Engineer Ryan Collins led him to a test chamber. "We've miniaturized the technology to fit on our smaller ships. The Council banned this research because they claimed it was too dangerous, but we've solved the containment problems. And the phase shields? Ready for testing next week. These will make our ships nearly invulnerable to Council energy weapons." Foster nodded with approval. "The Council thought restricting our technology would keep us weak. Instead, it just made us more creative." Back in space, the Defiance prepared to run the blockade. Captain Morgan addressed her crew one final time. "This is the moment that will determine humanity's future. In 42 minutes, we either break through or we fail. I trust each of you to do your part." She turned to her pilot. "Begin phase shift on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." The ship shimmered as the experimental drive engaged. On the view screen, the stars seemed to blur slightly. "Phase shift complete," reported the engineer. "We are now invisible to Council sensors." "Set course through the Uranus jump point," ordered Morgan. "Maximum speed." The Defiance accelerated toward the blockade. Massive Council ships loomed ahead, their weapons ready to destroy any unauthorized vessel, but they gave no indication they could see the human ship slipping between them. 30 minutes of phase shift remaining, called out Miller. They reached the jump point, a region of space where ships could enter faster than light travel. Council ships surrounded it completely. "Prepare for jump," said Morgan. "Hold steady." The ship's computer counted down to the perfect position. At the exact moment, the Defiance engaged its FTL drive and vanished from the Sol system. When they emerged hours later near Arcturus, Morgan released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Status report?" "Phase shift held through the jump," said Miller, sounding surprised. "We made it, but their celebration was short-lived." Alarms blared across the bridge. "Captain," called the sensor officer. 3 Silvari patrol ships on approach. They've detected our jump signature." "Battle stations," ordered Morgan. "Evasive maneuvers. We need to reach the colony before they catch us." As the Defiance raced toward Arcturus 4, dodging enemy fire, Morgan noticed something strange. "Why are only the Silvari firing? There's a Proximan ship nearby, but it's not engaging." Rivera studied the sensor readings. "It's almost like they're deliberately missing us, Captain." Morgan's eyes narrowed. "Open a secure channel to that Proximan vessel." After a tense moment, an alien face appeared on screen. "Human vessel, this is Captain Zor of the Proximan Confederation. We cannot help you openly, but we will not hinder you either. Many in the YAI Council disagreed with the treatment of Earth." "You're taking a big risk telling me this," said Morgan. "Perhaps," said Zor. "But know that Earth is not alone. Others watch and wait. The Council's unity is not as strong as they pretend." As the communication ended, Morgan turned to her crew with a small smile. "It seems we might have allies after all. Now let's get to Arcturus and deliver our package. The real work is just beginning." The Defiance sped toward the human colony, carrying with it not just technology but something the Council feared even more: hope. 8 months had passed since Earth withdrew from the Galactic Council. The blockade remained, but it was no longer as effective as the Council had hoped. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking at the faces on her view screen. Representatives from 3 alien species waited for her response. "The Proximan Confederation agrees to your terms," said Captain Zor, his purple skin reflecting the light of his ship's bridge. "We will provide star charts of Council patrol routes and supply line information. The Tau Collective joins this. Alliance as well," added Elder Kira, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Our engineers are eager to work with humans on joint projects. And the Drift clans will contribute our knowledge of hidden space lanes, said Nomad Chief Vrel. The reptilian alien's voice was rough, but sincere. The council has stepped on too many tails for too long. Morgan nodded respectfully to each of them. On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I welcome you to what we're calling the Coalition of the Willing. Together we can stand against council oppression. After the transmission ended, Morgan turned to her first officer. 8 months ago, we thought we stood alone. Now we have allies. Sam Rivera smiled. The council never expected this. They thought isolating us would make us weak. Instead, we found friends who were also tired of being controlled. The coalition grew stronger each day. Earth offered innovations the council had forbidden: medical nanobots that could cure previously untreatable diseases, artificial gravity systems more efficient than anything in council space, and energy generators that produced 3 times the power of standard council designs. In return, Earth's new allies provided vital resources and intelligence that helped humans survive the blockade. Most importantly, they offered safe harbors for human ships beyond council reach. On Luna Base, Dr. Nathan Wells put the finishing touches on his greatest achievement. The quantum mesh network would change everything. System test complete, said Olivia Diaz, his assistant. The quantum mesh is stable and undetectable by council monitoring systems. Wells took a deep breath. Send the activation signal to all human colonies and coalition partners. Throughout human space and beyond, hidden receivers activated. For the first time since the blockade began, Earth could communicate instantly and securely with all its colonies and allies. The fractured human territories became united again. President Eleanor Wright received the first official message through the new network while meeting with her war cabinet. "It works," she said, reading the transmission from Alpha Centauri. "All colonies report ready for Phase 2. She looked at the men and women around the table. "It's time for Operation Lighthouse." Admiral George Hudson nodded. "The Council believes we're weak and divided. Time to show them how wrong they are." Operation Lighthouse began 3 days later. Small, fast coalition ships struck isolated blockade outposts around Sol system. They appeared from nowhere, disabled Council ships with precise attacks that caused no casualties, and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. Council commanders were baffled. Their sensors detected no approach. Their communications received no warnings. The attackers seemed to know exactly when and where Council ships would be most vulnerable. Then came the biggest surprise. 7 human colony ships, reported destroyed during the early days of the blockade, suddenly appeared in previously uncharted systems. They broadcast messages on open channels, revealing themselves as thriving human settlements established beyond Council reach. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. For the first time in centuries, the mighty alliance faced a serious challenge. "This is unacceptable," shouted Vexlar of the Silvari Dominion. His mandibles clicked rapidly in anger. "Humans are primitive beings. They cannot be outmaneuvering our fleets." "Yet they are," said Zixvan of the Andromeda Union. "And they are not alone. Our intelligence suggests at least 3 council races have broken ranks to join them." "Traitors," hissed Vexlar. "We must crush this rebellion with overwhelming force. Show no mercy to humans or their allies." "Perhaps," said Morukai, the ancient member whose true form remained hidden in its containment suit, "we should consider negotiation. The humans have proven more adaptable than we anticipated. Negotiate? Never." Vexlar rose from his seat. "The Silvari Dominion will take action if the Council lacks resolve. We have maintained order for 10,000 years. We will not be challenged by hairless apes and their sympathizers." As the Council argued, the quantum mesh carried their every word to listening human intelligence officers. Dr. Wells had managed to tap into the Council's supposedly secure communication network, giving the Coalition perfect intelligence. Wenxioi. News reached Captain Morgan aboard the Defiance. She immediately called a meeting with her Coalition counterparts. "The Council is fracturing," she told them. "The Andromeda Union wants to talk. The Silvari want war." "The Silvari have always pushed for dominance," said Captain Zor. "This division gives us an opportunity." But we must be ready, added Elder. Kira. If the Silvari choose war, they will strike hard and fast. Morgan nodded grimly. According to our intelligence, they plan to attack Tau Ceti, our second largest colony. They think destroying it will break human resolve and scare the coalition back into line. Then we will be waiting for them, said Nomad Chief Vrel, showing his sharp teeth. The Drift clans know how to set an ambush. Morgan looked at her allies with fierce determination. The Council thought humanity would beg to return after a few months of blockade. Instead, we've created something new, something they never imagined possible. Back on Earth, President Wright reviewed the defense plans for Tau Ceti. Admiral Hudson had positioned the human fleet alongside coalition ships in a formation that made little tactical sense until one understood the capabilities of Dr. Wells's newest technologies. The Silvari will expect an easy victory, said Hudson. They'll find something very different. Wright nodded. For 30 years we played by their rules. We held back our potential to fit into their ancient order. No more. She looked at the star map showing human and coalition positions throughout the galaxy. The Council went too far. Now they'll learn what happens when humanity refuses to negotiate. As the coalition forces prepared for the coming battle, a sense of quiet confidence spread among the human ships. For the first time since leaving the Council, they weren't just surviving, they were fighting back, and they were winning. The Silvari attack fleet appeared at the edge of the Tau Ceti system exactly when human intelligence predicted it would. Over 300 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging. It was the largest Council military force assembled in 500 years. Admiral George Hudson watched from the bridge of his flagship. Determination. Behind him, officers monitored displays showing the human and coalition defensive positions. The battle plan was risky. To anyone looking at their formation, it appeared that the defenders were badly outnumbered and poorly positioned. Enemy fleet advancing on predicted vector, reported the sensor officer. They're moving into attack formation. Hudson nodded calmly. All ships maintain position. Do not engage until my command. The Silvari fleet moved with perfect precision. Their ships had fought countless battles over thousands of years, and they were confident in their superiority. Leading the assault was Supreme Commander Klavex, the most decorated military leader in the Silvari Dominion. Human defenses detected, reported his second-in-command. Their formation is strange. Only 47 ships protecting the colony. Klavex's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. They are desperate and foolish. Begin the attack sequence. Show no mercy. The first wave of Silvari ships launched their attack. Energy beams lashed out across space toward the human vessels. But something unexpected happened. The beams seemed to pass straight through the human ships without causing damage. Report, demanded Klavex. Unknown defensive technology, replied his weapons officer. Our sensors indicate direct hits but no damage registered. On the determination, Hudson allowed himself a small smile. Dr. Wells's phase shield technology works perfectly. Now let's show them what else we've developed. All ships execute pattern alpha. The human fleet suddenly shifted positions with impossible speed and coordination. The quantum mesh network allowed them to move as a single unit, reacting instantly to commands. No Council fleet had ever seen such perfect coordination. As the Silvari fleet adjusted to target the repositioned human ships, the first real surprise was unveiled. From the surface of Tau Ceti's largest colony, massive ground-based weapons powered up. They were gravity lances, technology the Council had deemed too dangerous and banned centuries ago. The lances fired. Concentrated beams of distorted gravity tore through the largest Silvari vessels, ripping them apart from the inside. 5 capital ships were destroyed in the first volley. Klavex was stunned. Impossible. The gravity lance technology was purged from all records. Apparently not from human records, his second replied grimly. Before the Silvari could reorganize, a new fleet appeared behind them. The Defiance led a combined force of coalition ships, cutting off the Silvari retreat path. Captain Lisa Morgan opened a channel to the coalition fleet. All ships engage. Target their communication vessels first. The battle turned into chaos for the Silvari. Their rigid battle formations, unchanged for centuries, were suddenly useless. They couldn't predict where the human ships would be from. One moment to the next, the phase shields made their primary weapons ineffective, and the coalition ships attacked with technologies the Silvari thought long extinct. After 6 hours of fighting, the Silvari fleet was in ruins. Over half their ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest were trying to retreat, but the human and coalition forces had them surrounded. On the Determination, Admiral Hudson opened a communication channel to the remaining Silvari ships. His face appeared on screens throughout the enemy fleet. Attention, Silvari forces. Your attack has failed. Your ships are surrounded. You have 2 options: surrender or be destroyed. Supreme Commander Clavex was furious, but he was also a realist. His mighty fleet was defeated by a species the Council had dismissed as primitive. He opened a channel to Hudson. This is not over, human. The full might of the Council will crush your rebellion. Hudson's expression remained calm. The Council is already divided, Commander, and after today many more will question their leadership. He paused. We will allow your remaining ships to return to Council space. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that we sought only peaceful coexistence. You chose conflict. Remember what happened here before you choose it again. The surviving Silvari ships were permitted to leave carrying news of their defeat. As they departed, Hudson contacted Earth. Madam President, the battle is won. Tau Ceti is secure. President Eleanor Wright's face showed relief and pride. Casualties? Minimal. The phase shields worked better than expected. We lost 7 ships. The coalition lost 12. The colony suffered minor damage from stray weapons fire. And the Silvari? Over 150 ships destroyed or disabled. The rest are retreating. We allowed them to leave. Wright nodded. Good. Let them carry the message back to the Council. News of the battle spread quickly throughout Council space. Despite official censorship, the quantum mesh network carried detailed accounts to thousands of worlds. Species that had been told humans were primitive upstarts now saw them as champions against Council oppression. More races reached out to join the coalition secretly. The Galactic Council, which had ruled for 10,000 years, suddenly faced a crisis of confidence. On the colony world of Tau Ceti, Captain Morgan walked through the streets of the main settlement. Cleanup crews were repairing the minor damage from the battle. Humans worked alongside Proximans, Tau Collective engineers, and even some Drift Clan warriors. Sam Rivera joined her. Hard to believe this was all Council territory just 8 months ago. Morgan nodded. The Council never understood what they were dealing with. They've spent thousands of years maintaining the status quo, preventing change and innovation. Then, they met humans. What do you think happens next? Rivera asked. The Council will have to respond. The Andromeda Union will push harder for negotiations now. The Silvari will demand even stronger action, but they've lost too many ships to force the issue. Morgan looked up at the stars visible in the daytime sky of Tau Ceti. For the first time in thousands of years, the future of the galaxy is uncertain, and that's a good thing. Back on Earth, Dr. Wells monitored Council communications through the quantum mesh. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going for 3 days without break. The arguments were becoming more heated. Some members called for peace with the humans. Others demanded their extinction. Wells smiled as he listened. The mighty council that had tried to control humanity was tearing itself apart from within. And humanity, which they had tried to isolate and weaken, was growing stronger every day. They really should have just left us alone, he said to Olivia Diaz. All we wanted was to be treated as equals. And now, she asked, now they'll have to treat us as equals, whether they want to or not. 1 year had passed since Earth withdrew from the Galactic Council. The blockade around Sol system was gone, broken by a series of swift coalition strikes. Human ships now traveled freely through space that once belonged exclusively to the Council. The balance of power had shifted in ways no one could have predicted. High Counselor Zix Von called the emergency session to order. The Grand Chamber on Centauri Prime was only half full. Nearly a third of all council races had formally joined. The coalition of the willing. Others stayed away, unwilling to commit to either side. "We face an unprecedented crisis," Zix Von announced to the remaining council members. "The coalition now controls key trade routes and resource-rich systems previously under our authority. Our economic forecasts are troubling." The displays showed the data clearly. Council worlds were suffering as human innovations, freely shared, with coalition partners, created prosperity outside council control. Markets once dominated by council megacorporations now found themselves competing with more efficient coalition alternatives. Vexlar of the Silvari Dominion had lost much of his former arrogance. The defeat at Tau Ceti had cost him half his fleet and much of his political influence. "We should crush them with our combined might. The Silvari stand ready to lead the assault." "With what ships?" asked Morukai. "Your failed attack demonstrated the effectiveness of human technology. Our military advisors believe a direct confrontation would be unwise." Zix Von raised all four hands for silence. After extensive consultation, the Andromeda Union proposes a formal invitation for Earth to rejoin the Council, with special concessions acknowledging their sovereignty and right to self-determination. The chamber erupted in debate. Some members supported the proposal, seeing it as the only way to preserve the Council's power. Others rejected any compromise with the humans they had once dismissed as primitives. After 3 days of heated discussion, a narrow majority approved Zix Von's proposal. A formal invitation was sent to Earth, requesting Ambassador William Carter's presence on Centauri Prime. President Eleanor Wright called her own emergency meeting when the invitation arrived. Admiral Hudson, Captain Morgan, and other military leaders gathered alongside scientists and diplomats. "They want us back," Wright said, displaying the Council's message, "with guarantees of our independence and recognition of the coalition." "It's a trap," Hudson said immediately. "They can't beat us militarily, so they'll try to contain us politically." Dr. Wells shook his head. "I don't think so. Our intelligence from the quantum mesh shows genuine panic among Council leadership. They're afraid of what comes next if more worlds join us." Carter, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "I should go, not to accept their offer, but to present our own terms. The old Council is finished. We have the opportunity to build something better." After much debate, Wright agreed. Carter would return to Centauri Prime not as a supplicant, but as the representative of a new power in the galaxy. When the day came, Carter wasn't alone. Captain Morgan, as the Coalition's military commander, accompanied him. Representatives from the Proximan Confederation, the Tau Collective, and the Drift clans also joined the delegation. Together, they entered the Grand Chamber where Earth's defiance had begun a year earlier. The assembled council members fell silent as the coalition delegation approached the central podium. Some noticed that Carter carried no notes, no prepared statements. He would speak from the heart. "Members of the Galactic Council," he began. "1 year ago, I stood in this chamber and rejected your ultimatum. I told you then that humanity would not surrender its future. Today, I return not to accept your invitation, but to offer one of our own." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Humanity does not seek dominance, but neither will we accept subjugation. The old Galactic Council is obsolete, a tool of control rather than cooperation." Carter gestured to his coalition partners. "Together we represent a different vision of the future. We propose a new interstellar compact based on mutual respect, technological exchange, and genuine security for all members." The chamber remained silent as Carter activated a holographic display. The Coalition Charter appeared, a new framework for galactic governance where no single race or bloc could dictate to others. Membership would be open to all, including former Council races willing to accept its principles. "The core principle is simple," Carter continued. "All sentient species have the right to develop according to their own paths, without artificial restrictions on technology or expansion. The purpose of government should be to facilitate cooperation, not control development." The Silvari delegation, led by Vexelar, immediately rose and stormed out of the chamber, but most others remained, studying the proposed charter with interest. Zixvan spoke after a long silence. "You propose to dismantle a system that has maintained peace for 10,000 years. A peace built on stagnation," replied Morgan. "A peace that benefited the powerful at the expense of emerging races. We offer a peace based on mutual growth." Throughout council space, billions of citizens viewed the transmitted proceedings. The council had opened the session to public viewing, hoping to show the humans' unreasonableness. Instead, many worlds saw the coalition's vision as compelling and fresh. Over the next few days, private meetings were held between coalition representatives and individual council races. Some joined immediately, others needed time to consider. The Andromeda Union, led by Zixvan, was the first major power to accept the new charter. On Europa, Earth's moon base orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Wells watched the proceedings with President Wright. His research center had become the heart of human innovation, free from council restrictions. "They thought our weapons were dangerous," Wells remarked, as they watched more races sign the coalition charter. "They never understood our most powerful. Technology was always our ideas." Wright nodded. Freedom to innovate, to question, to challenge the status quo. That's what they feared most. In the depths of space beyond the furthest council outpost, the Defiance charted new territories. Captain Morgan had taken on a new mission, seeking out races unknown even to the council and offering them membership in the coalition. "What do you think we'll find out there?" Sam Rivera asked as they prepared for another jump to an unexplored system. Morgan smiled. "New friends, new challenges, a galaxy full of possibilities." She looked at the star chart showing dozens of unexplored regions. "The council limited exploration to control what people knew. We're going to open up the entire galaxy, back on Centauri Prime, now designated as the temporary headquarters for the transition government. Ambassador Carter watched as the former council chamber was redesigned. The elevated seats for the High Council were being removed. In their place, a circular arrangement where all representatives would sit as equals. A Proximan diplomat approached him. "The Silvari are threatening military action. They've withdrawn to their core systems and are building up their remaining forces." Carter nodded calmly. "They'll be back eventually. Change is hard for those who have held power the longest. But they can't stop what's happening." He looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's massive windows. Somewhere out there, human colony ships were already pushing beyond known space, seeking new worlds to settle. Coalition research teams were solving problems the Council had declared unsolvable. And ordinary people of all species were beginning to imagine a future without the restrictions that had limited them for millennia. "The Galactic Council went too far," Carter said quietly. "But in doing so, they gave birth to something better than any of us could have imagined. The stars, once limited by Council decree, now offered infinite possibilities.